Hello everyone. I'm here to help you relax tonight. I know many of you use this video to fall asleep. So, before you get cozy, also, let me know where you're watching from, and what time it is there. I'd love to hear from you. Story 1. It started at exactly 2:17 a.m. That detail would haunt Imran for the rest of his life. Because when everything was over, when the police reports were written, when the news twisted the story into something unrecognizable, that timestamp would still be there, unchanged, unexplainable. Imran wasn't supposed to be awake. He had work in the morning, a boring office job, data entry, nothing important, nothing dangerous. His life was quiet, predictable, safe. But that night, something pulled him out of sleep. Not a sound, not a dream, just a feeling. He opened his eyes slowly. The room was dark, silent. Then his phone buzzed. Once, twice. A call. Imran groaned, turning over, blindly reaching for it on the bedside table. "Who's calling at this hour?" he muttered. He looked at the screen, and froze. Calling Imran. His own number. For a moment, his brain refused to process it. What? He blinked. Looked again. Still there. His number. Calling him. A glitch, he thought. Had to be. Maybe some network error. Maybe a spam trick. But something about it felt wrong. Too precise. The phone kept vibrating in his hand. He hesitated. Then, he answered. "Hello." Silence. Just static. Faint. Distant. Imran frowned. "Hello. Who is this?" Still nothing. Then, a sound. Not from the line. From the background. A voice. Low. Panicked. "Please, don't do this." Imran's stomach dropped. "Hello. Who is that?" The voice on the other end was his. Not similar. Not close. Exact. "If anyone hears this, please." The voice whispered. "I didn't mean to." Then, a loud crash. Something breaking. A struggle. A scream. And then, a second voice. Cold. Calm. "You shouldn't have answered." The call cut instantly. Dead silence. Imran sat frozen in bed, his hand still gripping the phone, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. No, that's not. He shook his head. It wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But his body didn't believe that, because every instinct inside him was screaming one thing. That wasn't a prank. His hands trembled as he checked the call log. There it was. Incoming call, 2:17 a.m. From his number. Duration, 0:42 seconds. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "Okay, think." He stood up, turned on the light. The room looked normal. Nothing broken. Nothing out of place. No signs of anything. But then, he noticed something. His door, slightly open. Imran froze. He always locked it. Always. Slowly, carefully. He stepped toward it, his breath shallow, his heart racing. He reached the door, pushed it open. The hallway was empty. Dark. Silent. Nothing. "See," he whispered. "Nothing's wrong." But as he turned back toward his room, he heard it. A faint sound. From inside. A whisper. His voice. "You shouldn't have answered." Imran spun around. The room was empty. But his phone was on the bed. And the screen was lit. Call ended. Then, without warning, it buzzed again. Same number. Calling Imran. This time, he didn't want to answer. But something inside him, something stronger than fear, forced his hand. He picked it up, slowly, pressed accept. "Hello." Breathing. Heavy breathing. Then, a whisper. Closer this time. Right against the phone. "You're too late." Imran's blood ran cold. "For what?" he asked, barely able to speak. Silence. Then, a sound that would follow him forever. A slow, wet, dragging noise, like something being pulled across the floor. And then, the voice again. His voice. "Look under the bed." The call disconnected. Imran stood there, not moving, not breathing. His eyes slowly drifted down, toward the bed, the darkness beneath it, and for the first time, He realized something terrifying. He didn't remember checking under it. When he woke up, the silence stretched. Thick. Heavy. Then, very slowly, something moved. Under the bed. Just enough. To prove one thing. He wasn't alone. Imran didn't move. He couldn't. His eyes were locked on the darkness beneath the bed. Something had moved. Not imagined. Not a trick of the light. Real. His breathing slowed. Not because he was calm, but because his body had gone into something deeper than fear. Survival. Think, he whispered to himself. But his thoughts were scattered. Broken. Because nothing made sense. A call from himself. A voice that was his. A warning. And now, something under his bed. The silence stretched. Heavy. Waiting. Then, a faint sound. A soft tap. From beneath. Imran flinched. His heart slammed against his ribs. "Who's there?" he called out. His voice cracked. No answer. Just silence again. But the silence felt different now. Alive. Watching him. Imran swallowed hard. There was only one way forward. He bent down slowly. Every movement careful. Measured. His hand reached for the edge of the bed. He hesitated. Because deep down, he already knew. Whatever was under there was not normal. But not knowing was worse. He dropped to his knees. Lowered his head. And looked. Darkness. At first. Just shadows. Nothing. Then, his eyes adjusted. And he saw it. A face. Staring back at him. Imran screamed. Falling backward. Slamming into the wall. The thing under the bed didn't move. Didn't crawl out. It just stayed there. Watching. Because the face was his. Same eyes. Same features. Same expression. But wrong. The skin was pale. Too pale. The eyes. Dark. Not just in color. But in depth. Like something was missing behind them. Imran scrambled backward. No, no, no. The thing under the bed smiled. Slowly. And then. It spoke. You saw it too. Imran froze. That voice. It was his. Exactly his. But colder. Detached. What are you? Imran whispered. The thing tilted its head slightly. That's not the right question. A pause. You should be asking, when am I? Imran's breath caught. What? The thing under the bed moved slightly closer to the edge. Still not coming out. 2:17 a.m., it said softly. Imran's heart stopped. That's when it begins. Begins what? The thing smiled again. The end. Silence. Imran shook his head violently. No, this isn't real. It is, the thing replied calmly. And you already know that. Imran's mind raced. The call. The voice. The scream. The murder, he whispered. The thing's eyes flickered. Yes. A pause. You heard it. Imran's throat tightened. Was that me? Silence. Then. Yes. The word hit like a hammer. Imran staggered to his feet. No, I didn't. I would never. You will. The certainty in that voice. It was absolute. Imran backed away slowly. This is a trick. It's a warning. The thing under the bed shifted again. Its hand slowly reached forward and slid something out into the light. A phone. Imran's breath stopped. It was identical to his. Same scratches. Same case. Same everything. That's yours, the thing said. No, Imran whispered. Yes. A pause. Tomorrow. Imran stared at it. What? You lose it. And then you find it again. The thing's smile widened. And that's when everything changes. Imran's hands shook. This isn't possible. It already happened. Silence. Imran looked at the phone on the floor. Then back at the thing under the bed. Why are you telling me this? The answer came instantly. Because you tried to stop it. A chill ran through him. And the thing's eyes darkened. You failed. The room felt smaller. Colder. Like the walls were closing in. Imran shook his head. No, no, I can change it. The thing leaned closer. Almost out from under the bed now. You already tried that. Imran's breathing quickened. Then I'll try again. The thing stopped moving. Its expression changed slightly. For the first time. Uncertainty. That's new, it murmured. Imran noticed. You didn't expect that. The thing didn't answer immediately. Then, slowly, it smiled again. Maybe this time. A pause. You last longer. Imran clenched his fists. I'm not going to kill anyone. The thing's gaze locked onto his. You don't remember her yet? Imran froze. Huh? The thing nodded slightly. And then, it said a name. Aisha. The moment the name left its mouth, something inside Imran's mind cracked open. A flash. A face. A girl. Laughing. Then, screaming. Blood. Imran stumbled back. No, no. The memory vanished as quickly as it came. But the feeling stayed. You see, the thing whispered. It's already inside you. Imran's chest rose and fell rapidly. Who is she? The thing stared at him. For a long moment. Then answered. The one you couldn't save. A loud knock suddenly echoed through the apartment. Both of them froze. Another knock. Imran. A voice. Real. From outside the room. Imran turned toward the door. Who is that? He whispered. The thing under the bed didn't respond. Slowly, Imran looked back down. It was gone. The space under the bed. Empty. Only the phone remained. And from the hallway, the voice came again. Imran, open the door. It's me. His blood ran cold. Because he recognized that voice. It was the same one from the call. Cold. Calm. You shouldn't have answered. The knock came again. Slow. Measured. Not impatient. Certain. Imran. The voice called again, calm and steady. I know you're inside. Imran didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the bedroom doorway. Every instinct screamed at him to stay back. To run. To pretend he wasn't there. But the voice. It was the same one from the call. The same cold tone that had said, you shouldn't have answered. His throat tightened. Who are you? He called out. Silence. Then, someone who's trying to keep you alive. That answer didn't help. Not even a little. Imran glanced back at the bed. The space underneath it was empty now. Like nothing had ever been there. Except the phone. Still lying on the floor. Identical to his. Waiting. His gaze lingered on it. Then slowly, he bent down. Picked it up. The screen lit up instantly. No lock. No passcode. Just one thing. A video file. Timestamp. 2:17 a.m. Imran's hands trembled. He didn't press play. Not yet. Another knock. Louder this time. Imran, the voice said again. If you don't open this door, things get worse. A pause. Then, I don't have time to wait. And neither do you. Imran swallowed hard. Time. Everything kept coming back to time. The call. The duplicate. The warning. He made a decision. Slowly, he stepped out of the bedroom. The apartment felt different now. Colder. Quieter. Every shadow stretched too far. Every sound felt too loud. He moved down the hallway. One step at a time. Until he reached the front door. His hand hovered over the lock. Keep you alive, he repeated under his breath. Then, he unlocked it. And opened the door. The man standing outside didn't look dangerous. Mid-40s. Clean-shaven. Wearing a simple dark jacket. But his eyes. Sharp. Focused. Like he already knew everything. The man studied Imran for a moment. Then nodded slightly. You look exactly like I expected. Imran didn't respond. Who are you? The man glanced past him briefly. Into the apartment. We shouldn't talk out here. Imran immediately stepped back. No. You talk here or you don't talk at all. The man sighed. Fair enough. A pause. My name is Farid. Imran said nothing. Farid continued. And before you ask, yes. I know about the call. Imran's heart skipped. And the thing under your bed, Farid added calmly. That was enough. Get inside, Imran said quickly. Farid stepped in without hesitation. The door shut behind him. Locked. For a moment. Neither of them spoke. Then Imran turned. Start talking. Farid nodded once. You're in a loop. The words landed hard. Imran frowned. What? A repeating sequence of events. Farid said. Centered around you. Centered around 2:17 a.m. Imran shook his head. No, that's not. You've lived this before. Imran stopped. How do you know that? Farid's expression darkened. Because I've seen what happens when it ends. Silence. Imran's chest tightened. Ends how? Farid didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the phone in Imran's hand. You haven't watched it yet. Imran instinctively tightened his grip. Watched what? Farid stepped closer. That video. Imran hesitated. What is it? Farid's voice lowered. Proof. A long pause. Imran looked down at the screen. The file was still there. Waiting. If I watch it, Imran said slowly, does it change anything? Farid shook his head. No. A beat. But it makes things clearer. Imran didn't like that answer. But he needed to know. He tapped the screen. The video began. Shaky footage. Dark. A room. Familiar. Too familiar. It was his apartment. But different. Messier. Something was wrong. Then, the camera shifted, and he saw himself, standing in the middle of the room, breathing heavily, covered in blood. Imran staggered back. No. On the screen, his other self looked directly into the camera, eyes wide, desperate. If anyone finds this. The voice trembled. I didn't mean to do it. A sound came from off-screen. A weak, choking noise. The camera turned. And there, on the floor, was a girl, barely moving, blood pooling beneath her. Imran's stomach dropped. Aisha, he whispered. The name came without thinking, because now, he remembered. Not clearly, but enough. The video continued. I tried to stop it, his other self said, but it keeps happening. A sudden noise. Behind him, the camera shook violently. His other self turned, eyes filled with terror. And then, a voice. Cold. Calm. You shouldn't have answered. The video cut. The room fell silent. Imran's hands were shaking uncontrollably. I killed her. Farid shook his head. No. A pause. You're going to. Imran looked up sharply. No. Farid's voice hardened. Yes. Silence. Imran backed away. I won't let that happen. Farid stepped forward. You've said that before. Imran froze. What? Farid looked him dead in the eyes. Every time. A chill ran down Imran's spine. How many times? Farid didn't hesitate. 23. The number hit like a punch. No. Yes. Farid gestured toward the phone. You always find it. You always watch it. You always try to change it. A pause. And you always fail. Imran shook his head violently. No. This time is different. Farid's expression softened slightly. That's what you said last time too. Silence. Imran's breathing became uneven. Then why are you here? Farid hesitated. For the first time. He didn't have an immediate answer. Because something changed, he said finally. Imran's eyes narrowed. What? Farid looked at him carefully. You remembered her sooner. That landed differently. And? Farid's voice dropped. That's never happened before. A sudden noise interrupted them. From the bedroom. A soft creak. Both of them froze. Slowly. They turned. The hallway stretched ahead. Dark. Silent. But something had changed. The bedroom door was open wider now. And inside, the shadows were moving. Farid's voice dropped to a whisper. It's early. Imran's heart pounded. What is? Farid didn't look at him. His eyes were locked on the darkness. Whatever kills her. A pause. It's already here. From inside the bedroom, a voice echoed out. Soft. Familiar. Imran's voice. You shouldn't have opened the door. The voice came from the bedroom. Clear. Calm. Wrong. You shouldn't have opened the door. Imran felt the blood drain from his face. Beside him, Farid didn't move. Didn't breathe. Like he already knew what was coming. Stay behind me, Farid whispered. Imran didn't argue. For the first time, he didn't try to take control. Because something inside him understood. Whatever was in that room was not something you faced alone. The hallway stretched ahead of them, longer than it should have been, darker than it should have been. Farid reached into his jacket slowly, pulled out something small, metallic, a device. Imran frowned. What is that? Farid didn't look back. Something I should have used the first time. That didn't make Imran feel better. They moved forward. Step by step. The air grew colder. Not normal cold. Heavy. Pressing. Like the apartment itself was resisting them. The bedroom door stood open. Wider than before. Inside. Darkness. Not shadows. Not lack of light. Something thicker. Alive. Farid stopped at the threshold. This is where it always starts, he murmured. Imran's voice trembled. What is it? Farid finally answered. It's you. Silence. Imran's stomach dropped. No. Farid turned slightly. Not exactly you. A pause, but close enough. From inside the room, a shape moved, slowly, stepping forward, into the faint light. Imran's breath caught. It was him, but not like before. Not just pale, not just wrong. This version was broken, cracked, like a reflection shattered and put back together incorrectly. Its movements were unnatural, too smooth in some places, too jerky in others. Its head tilted slightly, eyes locked onto Imran. You brought him again, it said softly. Its voice echoed, layered, multiple versions of the same voice speaking at once. Farid stepped forward. This ends now. The thing smiled. It didn't look human anymore. You've said that, it whispered. 23 times. Farid didn't flinch. But Imran did. Because it knew. It knew everything. Imran stepped forward before he could stop himself. Why are you doing this? The thing turned its gaze fully toward him. For a moment, it looked almost curious. Doing, it repeated. A pause. I'm not doing anything. Its smile widened. I'm just finishing what you started. The words hit harder than anything else. What I started. The thing nodded slowly. You opened the door. A beat. You answered the call. Another step forward. You made me. Imran staggered back. No, that's not. It is. Farid raised the device in his hand. Don't listen to it. The thing's head snapped toward him. Its expression darkened. You don't belong here, it said. Farid's voice was steady. I've been here longer than you. The thing laughed. A distorted, broken sound. No. A pause. I've been here first. The room shifted. The walls moved. Just slightly. But enough. Enough to make reality feel unstable. Imran grabbed his head. Memories flooded in. Not his. Not fully. Different versions. Different outcomes. Him trying to stop something. Him failing. Again. And again. And again. Make it stop. Imran shouted. Farid stepped closer. You need to focus. The thing moved faster now. Closing the distance. You can't stop it, it whispered. You never could. Farid activated the device. A sharp sound filled the room. High-pitched. Piercing. The thing recoiled slightly. For the first time. It reacted. Imran noticed. That hurts it. Farid nodded quickly. It disrupts the loop. The thing hissed. Its form flickering. You think this matters? It snapped. A pause. You still end up there. The lights flickered violently. The room twisted. And suddenly, they weren't in the apartment anymore. Imran gasped. They stood in a different place. A room. Cold. Dimly lit. And in the center, a body. Aisha. On the floor. Bleeding. Barely alive. Imran froze. No. The thing stood beside her now. Watching him. This is where it ends, it said softly. Farid grabbed Imran's arm. This isn't real. But it felt real. Too real. Aisha's eyes fluttered open. She looked at him. Imran, she whispered weakly. His heart shattered. I'm here, he said, stepping forward. Farid pulled him back. Don't. The thing smiled. Go on, it said. Try to save her. Imran hesitated. Because he remembered now. This moment. This choice. Every time. He did the same thing. And every time. It led to her death. What do I do? Imran whispered. Farid's voice was urgent. You don't follow the pattern. The thing's smile faded slightly. Careful, it said. You're learning. Imran closed his eyes, thinking, for the first time, not reacting, not panicking. Then, he stepped back, away from Aisha. The thing froze. What are you doing? Imran opened his eyes. Calm now. I'm not playing your version anymore. A shift. Something changed. The room trembled. The loop cracked. Farid smiled slightly. Finally. But the thing, it wasn't smiling anymore. Its expression twisted into something darker. You think that changes anything? It said. Imran didn't answer. He just stood still, unmoving, breaking the pattern. And for the first time, the thing looked uncertain. Because this had never happened before. The moment Imran stepped back, everything changed. Not slowly, not gradually. Instantly, the air in the room cracked like glass under pressure. A deep, distorted sound echoed, like reality itself tearing apart. The walls began to warp. The floor beneath his feet rippled like water. Aisha's body flickered. There 1 second, gone the next. Farid staggered slightly. This isn't right, he muttered. The thing, the broken version of Imran, stared at him, not with anger, not with fear, but with something worse. Confusion. You weren't supposed to do that, it whispered. Imran didn't respond. He stood still, breathing slowly. For the first time, he wasn't reacting to it. He was choosing. The room twisted violently. The version of Aisha on the floor dissolved into static, like a corrupted video file. Then, everything went dark. Silence. Total. Absolute. Imran blinked. He was back in his apartment, standing in his bedroom. The lights were on. The bed, normal. The floor, empty. No body. No blood. No thing under the bed. We're back, Imran whispered. Farid didn't answer. Imran turned, and felt his stomach drop. Farid was gone. The apartment was empty. Completely. No. Imran rushed into the hallway. Farid. Nothing. He checked the living room, the kitchen, the front door. Locked. From the inside. That's not possible. Panic crept in again. No. He forced it down. Stay focused. That's what Farid had said. Don't follow the pattern. Imran took a deep breath. Something had changed. He could feel it. The loop. It wasn't gone. But it wasn't the same anymore. A faint buzz broke the silence. Imran froze. Slowly, he looked toward the bedroom. His phone. It was ringing. He walked back slowly, each step cautious. The phone sat on the bed. Screen glowing. Incoming call. But this time, it wasn't his number. It was a name. Aisha. Imran's breath stopped. No. His hand trembled as he picked it up. This wasn't supposed to happen. This had never happened before. He answered. Hello. Silence. Then, a soft voice. Imran. His chest tightened. It was her. Alive. Aisha. A pause. Then, where are you? The question sent a chill down his spine. I'm home, he said slowly. Another pause. That's not possible, she whispered. Something was wrong. Very wrong. What do you mean? Her breathing quickened. I just saw you. Imran froze. What? I just saw you, she repeated, a tremor in her voice. You were outside my building. His heart began to pound again. Oh no, I'm here. I haven't. You were there, she insisted. And you were acting strange. Imran's grip tightened on the phone. What did I do? Silence. Then, you told me to run. The words hit like a shockwave. Run. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You said, don't open the door. Imran's blood ran cold. Because that wasn't a warning. It was a reversal. Aisha, he said urgently. Listen to me. A loud noise interrupted her. A door slamming. On her end. His hair, she whispered. Imran's heart stopped. Who? Silence. Then, a breath. You. The line went dead. Imran stood frozen. The phone slowly lowered from his ear. No, no, that's not. But it was. Because something had changed. The loop didn't just break. It split. Now there were two versions. One here, and one out there, and only one of them was trying to save her. A sudden crash echoed from outside. From the street below. Imran rushed to the window, looked down, and his heart stopped. A crowd was forming. People gathering around something. A body, lying on the ground. Imran's hands began to shake. No. Even from that distance. He recognized the clothes. Recognized the face. It was him. His body, broken on the pavement. And as the crowd stared, the body's eyes slowly opened, and looked directly up at him. Smiling. Imran couldn't breathe. His hands were pressed against the window. His reflection stared back at him. But beyond it was something worse. His own body, lying broken on the pavement below. Neck twisted at an unnatural angle. Blood pooling beneath him. And yet, those eyes, open, alive, watching, smiling. Imran staggered back from the window. No, 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 no. That wasn't possible. He was here, standing, breathing. So what the hell was that? A hallucination? Another illusion? But deep down, he knew. It wasn't fake. It was real. The loop hadn't reset. It had split. A sudden knock echoed through the apartment. Loud. Violent. Imran froze. Not again. The knocking came faster now. Aggressive. Imran. The voice shouted from the other side. And this time, there was no mistaking it. It was him. Imran's chest tightened. The door rattled under the force of the blows. Open the door. The voice was desperate. Panicked. But underneath, there was something else. Something wrong. Imran backed away slowly. No, I'm not opening that. The knocking stopped instantly. Silence. Thick. Then, a soft chuckle. Low. Distorted. Good, the voice said quietly. You're learning. Imran's stomach dropped. That wasn't panic anymore. That was control. The handle of the door began to turn. Slowly. Deliberately. Imran's eyes widened. It's locked, he whispered. The handle kept turning. Then, stopped. Another chuckle. Locks don't matter, the voice said. A shadow slid under the door. Not light. Not darkness. Something in between. Something that moved on its own. Imran stumbled backward. The shadow stretched across the floor, crawling toward him. Against the direction of the light. Against logic. No. The shadow reached his feet. And stopped. For a moment, it didn't move. Then, it began to rise. Like smoke. Taking shape. Forming. Into him. The other Imran stood there now. Perfect. Unharmed. No broken bones. No blood. Just him. But different. The eyes. Too still. Too empty. They stared at each other. A perfect mirror. One breathing. One not. You look scared, the other Imran said. His voice was calm. Too calm. I would be too. Imran's throat tightened. What are you? The other version smiled faintly. I'm what happens when you stop running. A pause. I'm what you become when you accept it. Imran shook his head. No, I'm not like you. The other Imran tilted his head. Not yet. Silence. Imran's fists clenched. You killed her. The other Imran didn't react. For a moment, he just stared. Then, he nodded. Yes. The word hit harder than anything else. Imran stepped forward suddenly. Why? The other Imran didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped closer too, until they were inches apart. Because she opened the door, he said quietly. Imran froze. What? The other Imran's eyes darkened. She always opens it. A pause. She always trusts you. Something clicked. The warning. Don't open the door. It wasn't for him. It was for her. Imran's breath caught. You're the one who goes to her. The other Imran smiled. Every time. Imran staggered back. No. Yes. The other Imran's voice dropped. And now, there's two of us. Silence. Imran felt the weight of that. Two versions. Two paths. One outcome. Then I'll get to her first, Imran said. The other Imran's smile widened. That's what you think. A pause. Then, the other Imran leaned closer. Whispered, You're already too late. A sudden ringing cut through the room. Imran's phone. Both of them looked at it. The screen lit up. Aisha calling. Imran moved instantly. But the other Imran was faster. He grabbed the phone first. Answered it. Hello, he said calmly. Imran lunged forward. No. But he was too late. He could hear her voice faintly through the speaker. Imran, I don't feel safe. The other Imran's smile deepened. You should open the door, he said softly. Imran's heart stopped. No, don't listen to him, he shouted. But she couldn't hear him. Okay, Aisha's voice whispered. Click. The call ended. Silence. Heavy. Final. Imran stared at the other version of himself. What did you do? The other Imran looked at him calmly. I finished it. A long pause. Then, in the distance, faint, a scream. Aisha. Imran's world shattered. He dropped to his knees. No, no, no. The other Imran watched him quietly, then said something that froze his blood completely. It still counts. Imran looked up slowly. What? The other Imran's expression turned cold. The loop doesn't care which one of us does it. A beat. As long as she dies. The lights flickered. Reality trembled again. And now, the other Imran whispered. There's no going back. The scream didn't stop, even after the call ended, even after the room went silent. Imran still heard it, echoing, inside his head. Aisha. He staggered backward, shaking. No, I can still fix this. The other Imran watched him quietly. No emotion, no urgency, just patience. That's the problem, he said calmly. Imran looked up, eyes wild. What? The other Imran tilted his head. You still think this is about saving her? Silence. Imran's chest tightened. It is. A faint smile. No, the other Imran said softly. It never was. Those words didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. Then what is it about? Imran demanded. The other Imran stepped closer. Choice. A pause. Yours. Imran shook his head. No. This is about you killing her. About stopping you. You still don't get it. The other Imran's voice sharpened. I am not the problem. A beat. You are. Imran froze. The words sank in. Slowly. Painfully. No. The other Imran leaned in. Yes. A long silence filled the room. Then, the world shifted again. The apartment blurred. Faded. Reformed. Imran blinked. He was standing somewhere else now. A hallway. Narrow. Dimly lit. And at the end, a door. He knew this place. Even before his mind caught up. His body remembered. Aisha's apartment. Imran's breath caught. No, no, not again. The other Imran stood beside him now. Calm. Watching. It always comes back to this, he said. At the end of the hallway, the door creaked open slightly. A thin line of light spilled out. And from inside, Aisha's voice. Imran. Imran's heart broke all over again. She was alive. Right now. In this moment. I'm here, he shouted, rushing forward. But the other Imran grabbed his arm. Hard. Stop. Imran struggled. Let go of me. The other Imran's grip tightened. You open that door, she dies. Imran froze. What? The other Imran leaned closer. This is the rule. Silence. The loop doesn't care how it happens, he continued. It doesn't care who does it. A pause. But it always ends the same way. Imran's voice dropped to a whisper. Then how do I stop it? For the first time, the other Imran hesitated. Then, he answered. You don't. The words landed like a death sentence. Imran shook his head slowly. No, there has to be a way. The other Imran's eyes darkened. There is. A beat. But you won't like it. Imran stared at him. Tell me. The other Imran turned toward the door. Toward Aisha. Then back at him. One of you has to die. Everything stopped. Imran's mind went blank. What? The other Imran didn't blink. If both of us exist, the loop continues. A pause. If one of us is gone. He let the sentence hang. Imran's chest tightened. Then what? The answer came quietly. Then it ends. Silence. Imran looked at the door. He could hear her moving inside. Waiting. Trusting. Then he looked back at the other version of himself. You expect me to believe that? A faint smile. You already do. Imran clenched his fists. Why haven't you done it then? The other Imran's expression changed. For the first time. Something human. Something like regret. Because I tried. A pause. And I failed. Imran's heart skipped. How? The other Imran's voice dropped. Because you always stop me. Silence. Imran stepped back slowly. So what? We just kill each other until one of us wins. The other Imran shook his head. No. A pause. Only one of us is allowed to choose. Imran frowned. What does that mean? The other Imran looked him dead in the eyes. It has to be you. A chill ran through him. Why me? The answer came softly. Because you're the one who still cares. Imran's throat tightened. From inside the apartment. A knock. Soft. Gentle. Aisha's voice again. Imran? Are you there? Imran closed his eyes. His mind raced. If he opened the door. She died. If he didn't know. This is insane, he whispered. The other Imran stepped back, giving him space. Make your choice. The hallway grew colder. The light flickered. Reality trembled. And Imran realized something terrifying. This wasn't part of the loop. This was outside it. A decision point. A final rule. One of them had to die. Oh, everything would repeat forever. Imran opened his eyes. Looked at the door. Then at the other version of himself. I'm not letting her die, he said quietly. The other Imran nodded slowly. I know. A pause. That's why you always lose. The hallway felt like it was closing in. The light above flickered again. Buzzing. Unstable. Imran stood frozen between two realities. Behind him, the other version of himself. Calm. Waiting. In front of him. The door. Aisha. Alive. Trusting. Imran. Her voice came again, softer this time. It hurt more now. Because he understood something he hadn't before. This moment was never about saving her. It was about what he was willing to lose. Imran swallowed hard. You said there's a truth behind all this, he said slowly, not turning around. Tell me. The other Imran didn't answer immediately. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, you really don't remember, do you? Imran clenched his jaw. Remember what? A long pause. Then, the first time. The word sent a chill down his spine. The first time what? The other Imran stepped closer. His voice lower now. Before the loop. The world seemed to tilt. Before the loop. There was a before. What happened? Imran whispered. The other Imran exhaled slowly. Like he'd carried this for too long. You killed her. Silence. Imran didn't react at first. His brain refused to process it. No. The other Imran didn't argue. Didn't raise his voice. Just said, yes. The word echoed in the narrow hallway. Imran shook his head violently. No. That's not. This whole thing is about stopping that. It already happened. Imran froze. What? The other Imran's eyes locked onto his. This isn't a warning. A pause. It's a consequence. The hallway darkened slightly. Like the truth itself was pulling the light away. Imran's voice cracked. I would never. You did. The interruption was immediate. Sharp. And final. Silence. Then. Why? Imran asked. The other Imran hesitated. For the first time. He looked away. Because she opened the door. The same words. Again. But this time. They meant something different. Imran's breathing slowed. That's not a reason. The other Imran nodded. No. A pause. It's the moment. Imran frowned. What does that mean? The other Imran stepped past him slightly. Closer to the door. It means everything changes there. A beat. When she opens the door. He turned back. You see something. Imran's heart pounded. What? The answer came quietly. The truth. Silence. What truth? Imran pressed. The other Imran's expression darkened. That she wasn't supposed to. The words didn't make sense. But they felt important. Wasn't supposed to what? Be there. A long pause. Imran's mind raced. You're saying she wasn't supposed to open the door? The other Imran shook his head slowly. No. A pause. She wasn't supposed to exist in that moment. Everything stopped. Imran stared at him. What? The other Imran's voice dropped to a whisper. This is where the loop started. A beat. You weren't alone that night. The hallway seemed to stretch, bend, like reality itself didn't want him to hear this. What are you saying? Imran asked, barely breathing. The other Imran stepped closer, face to face. You opened your door. A pause, and there was no one there. Imran's heart skipped. That's not. You waited. The voice cut through him. You looked down the hallway. Another step closer, and then, a whisper. She appeared. The world shattered. Fragments of memory flooded back. A hallway. Empty. Silent. Then, a figure. Standing there. Smiling. Aisha. Imran staggered backward. No, that's not real. The other Imran didn't move. It is. A pause. You didn't question it. You didn't stop to think. You just let her in. Imran's chest tightened painfully. So what? She wasn't real. The other Imran's expression twisted. That's the problem. A beat. She was. Silence. Imran's mind struggled to keep up. Then what's the problem? The answer came slowly, carefully. She wasn't supposed to be. The lights flickered violently. The hallway warped. Reality trembled again. This loop, the other Imran continued, isn't punishment. A pause. It's containment. Imran's breath caught. Containment. The other Imran nodded. Something broke that night. A beat. And now, it's trying to fix itself. Silence. Imran looked at the door. At Aisha. At the moment everything hinged on. So if I save her? The other Imran interrupted softly. You make it worse. A long pause. And if I don't? Imran whispered. The answer came like a blade. Then you become me. Silence. The truth settled in. Heavy. Unavoidable. There was no winning. No perfect ending. No clean escape. Only a choice. The door creaked open slightly. Aisha's voice trembled. Imran, please. Imran closed his eyes, took a breath, and realized something horrifying. This wasn't about saving her life. It was about deciding if she should have won at all. The door was still slightly open. Just enough for light to spill into the hallway. Just enough for her voice to reach him. Imran, please, I'm scared. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to move. To run to her. To open the door fully. To pull her into safety. But now, he knew, that wasn't saving her. That was starting it all over again. Imran's hands trembled at his sides. Behind him, the other Imran didn't speak. Didn't rush him. Didn't interfere. Because he didn't need to. He already knew how this would end. You always choose her, the other Imran said quietly. Imran clenched his jaw. And you always kill her. Silence. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Unavoidable. Then tell me something, Imran said slowly. For once. The other Imran tilted his head slightly. What? Imran finally turned around. Faced him directly. Eyes burning. If I let her die. A pause. Does she stay dead? That question, for the first time, made the other Imran hesitate. Just slightly. Yes, he said. But there was something off. Something uncertain. Imran noticed. You're lying. The other Imran's expression hardened. I'm not. But Imran shook his head. No, you don't know. A realization hit him. Hard. You've never made this choice, have you? Silence. That was the answer. Imran exhaled slowly. You said it yourself. You tried to stop me. A step forward. But you never became me. Another step. So you don't know what happens if I actually choose differently. The other Imran's eyes darkened. Don't do this. Imran turned back toward the door. I have to. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. Aisha's voice came again. Imran, why aren't you saying anything? His throat tightened. Because this was the moment. The one every version of him had failed. He stepped closer to the door. Slowly, each step heavier than the last. I'm here, he said softly. There was relief in her voice instantly. Oh, thank God. I thought. Imran raised his hand, hovered it near the door, and stopped. Don't open it, he said. Silence. What? She whispered. His voice shook now. Whatever you hear. A breath. Whatever you see. Don't open the door. A long pause. Imran, you're scaring me. Tears filled his eyes. I know. Another pause. But you have to trust me. Behind him, the other Imran took a step forward. This won't work. Imran ignored him. Focused only on her. No matter what happens. Stay inside. Silence. Then. Okay, she whispered. The word broke something inside him. Because she trusted him. Completely. And this time, he wasn't going to betray that. The hallway began to shake. Violently. The lights flickered. Then burst. Darkness swallowed everything. A low, deep sound echoed around them. Like something enormous shifting in the walls. The other Imran grabbed his arm. You don't understand what you've done. Imran pulled away. I'm ending it. The floor cracked beneath them. The walls split. Reality itself tearing apart. A voice echoed through the darkness. Not Aisha. Not the other Imran. Something else. Something vast. You interfere. The voice was everywhere. Inside his head. Inside his chest. With the correction. Imran froze. Correction, he whispered. The darkness pulsed. Like it was alive. The anomaly persists. The words felt mechanical. Cold. Unfeeling. Imran's heart raced. She's not an anomaly. Silence. Then. She does not belong. Imran shook his head violently. She's a person. She is a deviation. The words hit like a hammer. A break in sequence. The walls around them dissolved into nothing. The hallway gone. The door gone. Everything gone. Only darkness remained. And Imran. Floating in it. The other Imran stood beside him. Silent now. Watching. You were created, the voice continued. Oh, to correct it. Imran's breath caught. Created. The answer came instantly. Yes. A pause. Every version of you. Imran's mind shattered. No. You fail. A beat. Repeatedly. Images flashed around him. Thousands. Different versions of himself. Opening the door. Saving her. Watching her die. Again. And again. And again. Then I won't fail, Imran said. Silence. You already have. The darkness pulsed again. Stronger this time. The anomaly remains. Imran's chest tightened. No. A whisper escaped him. She's still alive. The voice didn't respond. And that silence was worse than anything. Because it meant this wasn't over. Not even close. The darkness began to collapse inward. Folding in on itself. Taking everything with it. The last thing Imran saw, before everything disappeared, was the other version of himself. Looking at him. Not with anger. Not with hatred. But with something far worse. Pity. There was no light. No sound. No ground beneath his feet. Just silence. Endless. Imran floated in nothingness. Or maybe, he wasn't floating at all. Maybe he had already fallen. Is it over? He whispered. No answer. No voice. No presence. For the first time, since the calls began, there was no loop. No echo. No repetition. Just stillness. Then, a sound. Soft. A phone ringing. Imran's eyes snapped open. And suddenly, he was back. Standing in a familiar place. His apartment. Everything normal. Everything quiet. His phone vibrated in his hand. He didn't remember picking it up. Didn't remember it ringing. But there it was. Screen glowing. Incoming call. No number. No name. Just one word. Unknown. Imran stared at it. Heart pounding. This is it, he whispered. The final piece. The final truth. His thumb hovered over the screen. Then, he answered. Hello. Silence. Then, a voice. Not distorted. Not mechanical. Soft. Familiar. Imran. His breath caught. Aisha? A pause. Then, I remember now. Those words sent a chill through him. Remember what? Her voice trembled. Everything. The room around him seemed to shrink. Then tell me, he said urgently. What is this? What are you? Silence. Then, I was never supposed to exist, she said. The truth. Exactly what the voice had said. Imran closed his eyes. But you do. Yes. A pause. Because of you. His eyes opened. What? Her voice broke slightly. You don't remember the night it started. Imran's chest tightened. I saw something, you appearing. A faint, sad laugh. Not appearing. A pause. Returning. The word hit him hard. Returning from where? Silence. Then, from a place I shouldn't have come back from. The room grew colder. Imran's voice lowered. You died. A long pause. Yes. The answer was simple. Final. And you couldn't accept it, she continued softly. You broke something. A flash. A memory forced its way into his mind. A hospital room. Machines beeping. Aisha lying still. Doctors shaking their heads. And him. Screaming. Begging. Refusing. No, Imran whispered. You called me, she said. The words echoed. You called me, even after I was gone. Imran's hands began to shake. That's not possible. But you did. Her voice was steady now. Clear. And something answered. The silence that followed was unbearable. What answered? He whispered. Her response came slowly, like she was afraid to say it. Not me. Imran's heart stopped. A cold realization crept in. Then what have I been talking to? A long pause. We're copy. The word felt wrong. Empty. Terrifying. A version of me that shouldn't exist. The truth settled in. Everything made sense now. The loop. The corrections. The voice. It wasn't trying to punish him. It was trying to fix what he broke. And you? He asked softly. What are you now? Silence. Then, I'm what's left. His chest tightened painfully. I remember dying. I remember nothing. And then, I remember you. Tears filled his eyes. Aisha. Her voice softened. You have to let me go. The words shattered him. No. A beat. No, I can fix this. There has to be a way. There isn't. Her tone wasn't harsh. Just certain. As long as I exist like this, it won't stop. The weight of it crushed him. Then what do I do? He whispered. A long silence. Then, end the call. Imran froze. What? If you hang up, I won't come back. The world seemed to tilt. You're asking me to kill you. A soft exhale. I'm already gone. Tears streamed down his face now. Please. A pause. Let me stay gone. His hand trembled. The phone felt heavier than anything he'd ever held. This was it. No loops. No second chances. Just one choice. Imran closed his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. Her voice came one last time. Soft. Warm. I know. And then, he ended the call. Silence. The room didn't shake. The world didn't break. Nothing happened. For a long time, Imran just stood there, breathing, alone. Finally, he looked at the phone. The screen was black. Still. Dead. No more calls. No more loops. Just reality. But as he set the phone down, something flickered. Just for a second. A reflection in the screen. A figure. Standing behind him. He turned slowly. Nothing there. The room was empty. Silent. But the phone buzzed. Once. A new notification. Imran stared at it. Slowly. He picked it up. And his blood ran cold. One new voicemail. From. Unknown. His hand trembled as he opened it. And then, a voice played. Soft. Familiar. Imran. The line crackled. What did you do? The screen went black, and somewhere, deep in the silence, the phone began to ring again. He always watched from the attic, and nobody knew why, until the night the neighbors vanished. The day the McAllisters vanished started like any other Sunday morning in the quiet suburb of Cedar Glen. Birds sang outside neatly trimmed hedges. Mailboxes lined the street like sentinels of suburban order. Families watered their lawns, mowed their grass, and sipped coffee in the soft golden sunlight. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening, nothing that would hint at the horror about to unfold. For the Harrisons next door, it was a normal morning. Linda Harrison, balancing a tray of toast and coffee, peered out the kitchen window at the McAllister house. "They are late for church again," she muttered to her husband, Mark, stirring his coffee absently. But she didn't notice the subtle shift in the McAllister home that morning. A shadow at the attic window. A figure so still it could have been carved from the darkness itself. Nobody noticed it. Nobody ever did, until later. By mid-afternoon, curiosity turned into worry. The McAllisters' car was gone, and the children's bicycles were still parked on the driveway. No sign of life. Mail piled up, dampened by the spring drizzle. Neighbors whispered. A friend tried calling. No answer. By evening, the police were involved. Officer Daniels, seasoned but not easily shaken, noted the first chilling detail. All the lights were off, the house locked tight, but there were no signs of forced entry. Inside, the McAllister home was pristine. Too pristine. Breakfast dishes sat untouched on the counter, beds unmade, laundry still half-folded. But no people, no sound, no evidence that anyone had been there or left willingly. Then came the attic. Daniels climbed the narrow stairs. Dust motes floated in the weak flashlight beam. Each step creaked, echoing through the empty house. The attic hatch was slightly ajar. The moment he pushed it open, he realized something horrifying. The entire room had been lived in, recently. Crayons scattered on the floor. A small, folded blanket laid neatly in the corner. A chair pulled up to the single window, positioned so whoever sat there could watch the street below. Daniels's stomach turned, because in the attic window, the glass was smudged. Fingerprints, clean and deliberate. Watching. The investigation began immediately, and the neighborhood turned upside down. Who could have taken the McAllisters? Why leave no trace? And why, after decades of living in peace, did someone suddenly choose this family? Neighbors were interviewed. Friends, co-workers, even delivery people. But nobody reported anything unusual, except for one man, Harold Finch. Harold was 62, retired, living alone in a house on the far corner of Cedar Glen. Quiet, polite, and often seen tending his garden or walking his dog. Nobody suspected Harold. Not even the police. Not even the neighbors. Except the children sometimes mentioned him, though they never realized how dangerous the detail was. "He watches sometimes," the youngest Harrison girl admitted, clutching her mother's hand. From the attic. Linda laughed nervously, thinking the girl was imagining things. A child's wild imagination. A harmless paranoia. But the police didn't laugh. They pulled the neighborhood records. Old blueprints of homes. Reports of strange activity, small thefts, neighbors claiming lights flickering in empty rooms. Nothing overt. Nothing violent. Nothing that pointed directly to Harold Finch. But there was one detail that made the hairs on Daniels's neck stand on end. Finch had lived in Cedar Glen for over 30 years. And in every case of unexplained disappearances or odd, unsolved incidents during that time, Harold was always present. Present. Watching. That night, the police secured the McAllister home, placing a guard and motion sensors. But no one dared sleep there. Not anyone sane. And in the shadows of the street, just across the lawn, behind the corner house, Harold Finch's figure could be seen in the attic window. Watching. Always watching. He wasn't worried. Not yet. Because he knew something no one else did. The McAllisters weren't the first. They wouldn't be the last. And he had plans for the neighborhood, plans that would take years to unfold. The next morning, Cedar Glen felt different. The sun rose over the neatly aligned rooftops, but the warmth of its light seemed hollow. The McAllister house, boarded up for investigation, stood like a dark sentinel on the street. Neighbors whispered behind curtains. Doors cracked open just slightly to watch police officers and detectives come and go. Mark Harrison had spent the night pacing. His wife, Linda, sat on the couch with the younger children huddled against her. The oldest, 14-year-old Rachel, stared at the McAllister house from the window. "They're never coming back, are they?" Rachel asked, voice trembling. Linda shook her head. I don't know, but the police will find them." Detective Daniels stood outside the house, briefing Officer Ruiz, who had spent the night monitoring the perimeter. "I've seen a lot in my career," Daniels muttered, his face grim. "But this is different. There's no sign of a struggle. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. Yet the family is just gone." Ruiz frowned. "You think it's a kidnapping?" Daniels rubbed his temple. "I don't know what it is. But this isn't random. There's a pattern. And I think it's been happening for years." Years. Daniels pulled out his notepad, flipping through decades of cold case files from Cedar Glen and surrounding neighborhoods. Missing children, families who vanished without a trace, reports of strange behavior from neighbors. Nothing ever solved. Nothing ever explained. And then it clicked. The first thing Daniels noticed was the positions of the houses. All missing families lived on corners. All had a clear line of sight to at least one neighboring attic window. And every time, neighbors had reported feeling watched, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, before the disappearances occurred. He made a note, attic windows, sight lines, watching. Back at the McAllister house, forensic teams scoured the property. They found fingerprints, dozens, mostly smudged, mostly inconsequential, but one set stood out. Harold Finch's. He had never been considered a suspect before. He was that nice old neighbor, the one who mowed his lawn meticulously and brought cookies to new families. But suddenly, he was everywhere in the investigation. Fingerprints on the doorknobs, dust on furniture indicating recent presence, even traces of hair in the attic. Not the McAllisters, not any pets. The investigators asked the question no one had considered yet. Has anyone seen Harold today? Nobody had. Meanwhile, at Finch's house, nothing seemed out of place. Curtains drawn, garden immaculate, dog asleep. The attic hatch slightly open, just a crack. Dusty shadows visible if you squinted from the street. Daniels decided they needed to see inside. But Finch's record was clean. No arrests, no convictions, no history of violence, nothing that gave them probable cause. So they did what any desperate police department would do. They started digging into his past. Harold Finch was born in Cedar Glen in 1958. He had grown up in the same house, inherited it from his father. People described him as quiet, meticulous, and peculiar. He never married, had no known children, and rarely had visitors. But the most disturbing detail came from old neighbors who still remembered him as a teenager. He used to watch people, one man said nervously, from his window, always drawing things in notebooks, sketches, houses, faces. He never left the house much. Another neighbor recalled a more sinister anecdote. One night, the Wilson family moved in across the street. He had an attic window open, and we could see him watching the house. My father told him to close it. The next morning, the family's dog was missing. And then, a month later, they moved away. Just gone. Didn't sell the house. Didn't take anything. Just left. Daniel scribbled notes frantically, sketching the connections, drawing lines between houses, neighborhoods, families, disappearances. Patterns emerged. Corners, attic windows, sight lines, silence, and always someone watching. They interviewed neighbors near the McAllister house again. Children were questioned. Some remembered a man in the attic. Some had vague memories of shadowy figures staring through their windows late at night. A pattern became clear. Harold Finch didn't break into houses. He didn't need to. He watched. He waited. And when families were distracted, when they were careless, he struck. Daniels realized something horrifying. The disappearances weren't impulsive. They weren't random. They were experiments. Back at Finch's house, investigators noted that all the lights were off. The attic window remained slightly cracked. The dog was gone. Suddenly, Officer Ruiz noticed something on the side porch. A small notebook, worn at the edges. Finch had forgotten it. Inside were detailed sketches of the McAllister house. Floor plans, staircases, furniture placement, family routines, notes about each member. He's been planning this for weeks, Ruiz whispered, shivering. Daniels nodded grimly. No, years. Each page meticulously recorded movements, timings, habits. Every grocery trip, every school drop-off, every evening routine noted in painstaking detail. It was a predator's diary, a blueprint for control. Daniel's eyes landed on one page and froze. It was a drawing of the street, corner houses marked with tiny symbols. And in the corner of the sketch, a small figure, almost like a shadow, hovering above the McAllister home. A single note written in Finch's precise hand. They don't know I'm here. Yet. The words made the hair on Daniel's neck stand up. He's been doing this for decades, he muttered. And it's only getting worse, Ruiz replied. Meanwhile, Finch was still in his attic, unseen, unbothered. Watching. Taking notes. Preparing. Because he knew something the police didn't yet understand. The McAllisters weren't the lost family. And Cedar Glen would never be safe again. The air in Cedar Glen had changed. Not physically, not visibly. But the residents knew it. Even the kids sensed it. An invisible weight pressed down on the street. The feeling that someone was always watching. And, for those who were paying attention, they were right. Detective Daniels drove slowly past the McAllister house, clipboard resting on his lap. Officer Ruiz sat beside him, scanning the empty yard. Do you think he's still there? Ruiz asked quietly. Daniels didn't answer at first. His eyes followed the cracked attic window across the street at Finch's house. Something about it made him uneasy. Finally, he spoke. If he's not, he's gone somewhere else. And if he is, we're running out of time. Inside Finch's house, Harold moved like a shadow. Years of observing, waiting, planning, every moment had led to this. He'd been meticulous, patient, always thinking 3 steps ahead. And now, the McAllisters were gone. Their house under investigation. Their lives disrupted. He opened another notebook, flipping to a fresh page. New subjects in sight. They think I'm gone. They are wrong. Observation continues. Patterns must be recorded. Behavior studied. I am the constant. They are temporary. Harold paused, staring at the window. He watched Daniels and Ruiz. The detectives were cautious, professional, but Harold could see fear behind their eyes. Fear that made them predictable. Fear that made them easy to manipulate. For decades, Harold had done this in silence. No one had suspected. Not the neighbors. Not the authorities. Not even the families themselves until it was too late. And he'd learned. The moment a family grew too comfortable, too careless, he struck. But he never physically harmed anyone, not yet. That wasn't necessary. Observing, manipulating, instilling fear, those were his tools. His art. Meanwhile, Detective Daniels and his team had a breakthrough. They obtained a search warrant for Finch's home. The evidence from the McAllister house, combined with decades of minor complaints and strange reports, finally gave them probable cause. It was time to move. The police assembled quietly in the early morning. Daniels looked over the plan one last time. Team Alpha will enter through the front, he said. Team Bravo takes the back. Keep eyes on all windows. There's no telling what we'll find. Approach cautiously. Harold Finch is meticulous. He watches. He knows patterns. Don't underestimate him. No one spoke. Everyone nodded. The house loomed ahead. Its exterior was ordinary. Normal. Even comforting, if it weren't for the chilling stories surrounding the occupant. Daniels signaled. The front door creaked as Team Alpha entered. No sound came from inside. Dust disturbed, furniture untouched. Everything seemed pristine. Ruiz, part of Team Bravo at the back, scanned the yard. The small side window to the attic caught his attention. A shadow flitted across the glass. Daniels, he whispered into his radio. Attic window. Movement. Daniels stiffened. Copy, he replied. Proceed with caution. Keep your eyes open. He knows we're here. Inside the house, the detectives split into teams. Rooms were empty, eerily so. A faint smell of old paper and dust lingered. Shelves lined with meticulously organized notebooks and photographs of past neighbors, houses, and street layouts. Maps covered the walls. Each corner of Cedar Glen accounted for. Daniel's heart sank. This was no ordinary obsession. This was years of planning. Obsessive, methodical. And it wasn't about the McAllisters. It was about the entire neighborhood. Upstairs, a staircase led to the attic. Daniels signaled. Officers followed slowly. The hatch was slightly open. Dust motes floated in the thin light. A small chair positioned directly in front of the window, and notebooks stacked neatly on the floor. Then they noticed it. A small camera, hidden in the corner of the attic, angled to record the street. Cables snaked across the floor, connected to monitors and recording devices. Someone had been documenting every movement in Cedar Glen. 4 months. 4 years. Ruiz swallowed hard. He's been watching all of us. Daniels nodded. All of Cedar Glen. Every family, every neighbor. His everywhere. And then they heard it. A soft creak. The attic hatch shifted slightly. Harold Finch stepped out from the shadows. Calm. Collected. Not a hint of fear. Not a hint of surprise. You shouldn't be here, he said softly. Daniels raised his weapon. Harold Finch. Step away from the window. You're under arrest. Finch's lips curved in a faint smile. I don't need to hide anymore. They are gone. They've always been gone. You're too late. Daniels tightened his grip on the gun. What are you talking about? The McAllisters. Harold shook his head slowly. They are part of the pattern. The pattern has always existed. You cannot stop it. You are too late, detective. Daniels felt a chill. Explain yourself, Finch. Now. Harold's eyes gleamed. Obsessive. Fanatical. For decades, I have watched. I have waited. I have guided. Cedar Glen is my canvas. Families are my subjects. Every disappearance, every oddity, every fear, it has been part of the experiment. Ruiz took a step back, horrified. Experiment, he stammered. Harold nodded. I observe. I record. I teach them, through fear. Most never notice. Some leave. Some break. But the results are always predictable. Daniels pressed forward. And the McAllisters. Finch's smile widened, unnerving. They were careless. Too trusting. They left themselves open. I merely facilitated what was inevitable. Daniel's stomach churned. Facilitated? What did you do to them? Harold's tone was calm, almost gentle. I watched. I waited. They vanished when the time was right. The pattern holds. And soon, so will the rest of the street. A sudden sound, a creak of floorboards, a shifting in the attic, made Daniels pivot. Finch was already gone. The attic was empty. Only the notebooks remained. Maps, diagrams, photographs, every detail of Cedar Glen meticulously documented. Every family, every neighbor, every moment of routine, recorded and analyzed. Daniels grabbed a notebook and flipped through it. The final pages chilled him to the bone. Plans, timetables, schedules, notes on how to manipulate fear, how to isolate families, how to ensure they never suspected a thing. And at the very end, written in large, precise letters, the pattern continues. The watchers remain. The experiment is eternal. Daniels looked out the attic window. Across the street, the houses were quiet. But he felt it, an invisible presence. Eyes that never blinked, always observing. Harold Finch had vanished into the shadows of his own making. And Cedar Glen would never be the same. Cedar Glen didn't recover from the McAllisters' disappearance. Even after Finch vanished from the attic, his presence lingered like a cold draft that no one could shake. Windows left slightly ajar, shadows moving in corners, the softest creak of floorboards. Everything became suspect. Detective Daniels spent sleepless nights poring over Finch's notebooks. Every page revealed patterns, timelines, habits, and a terrifying obsession with observation. Every family on the street had been tracked. Every neighbor catalogued. Every routine noted. One thing became painfully clear. The McAllisters were not random. They were just the first in a long line. Meanwhile, Finch's attention had already shifted. Across the street, in the newly painted house with the white picket fence, lived the Langston family. Helen, a single mother of 3 children, and her brother-in-law, David, who'd moved in to help with the household. A happy, normal family, or so it seemed. Helen noticed something immediately, though she couldn't put it into words. Lights in the neighboring attic flickering at night. Shadows that moved against the glass when no one should be there. A feeling that someone was watching, not just the house, but her, the children, even David when he left for work. She tried to ignore it. But the children, especially 9-year-old Emma, couldn't. "Mom," Emma said one evening, tugging at Helen's sleeve. "That man is staring at us again. From the window. He's in the attic." Helen laughed nervously. "It's nothing, sweetie. Just the shadows. You're imagining things." But Emma shook her head. "No, I saw him. He has a notebook. He writes down everything we do. He's always there." Helen's stomach sank. Something primal told her the child was right. Detective Daniels and his team tried to warn the neighborhood, but there was little they could do. The police presence had caused Finch to disappear, but no one had the slightest clue where he went. And that was Finch's genius. He didn't need to stay in one place. He could observe, track, and manipulate from afar. Every family on the street was part of his experiment. Every home a subject in his meticulous study of human behavior. Daniels studied the notebooks. Finch had detailed the Langston family as his next target, noting their routines. When the children left for school, Helen's schedule at work, David's hours at the office. Everything recorded in painstaking detail. One night, Helen came home late from her shift at the hospital. David was asleep on the couch. Emma and her siblings were already in bed. The house was quiet, too quiet. And then she noticed it. A light in the attic. Dim, flickering, deliberate. She froze. Her heart pounded as she crept upstairs, peering through the narrow hallway. From the attic window, she caught a glimpse, a shadow. A figure hunched over a notebook, scribbling furiously. Her blood ran cold. She backed away slowly, reaching for her phone. But the screen was dead. And then the figure moved. Not down the stairs. Not out the front door. But toward another exit. The house wasn't big, but the figure seemed to vanish into the shadows, slipping away as if it had never been there. Helen rushed to the living room. David was stirring, sensing her panic. "What is it?" he asked groggily. "There's someone in the attic," she whispered. I don't know. He was watching us." "He?" David's brow furrowed. "A burglar?" Helen shook her head. "No, it's not like that. I saw him writing. He knew everything about us." David's expression hardened. "We need to call the police. Now." The next day, Daniels and Ruiz arrived. Daniels had spent the night analyzing Finch's past and plotting a way to anticipate his next move. "We know he's targeting you," Daniels said bluntly to Helen. "We know he observes everything. He's methodical, meticulous, and dangerous. You cannot, under any circumstances, leave the house alone. Do not let the children out of sight. Lock every door, every window. He's watching." Helen felt her world shrink to the size of her living room. She hugged her children tightly. "I don't understand," she said. "Why us? Why Cedar Glen?" Daniels shook his head. "He doesn't choose randomly. He's obsessive. He picks families, studies them, and then decides when to strike. That's why the McAllisters disappeared. And if we're not careful, you'll be next." That night, the Langston house felt like a prison. The children slept in the same room. Helen and David took turns watching the house. Every shadow, every creak, every flicker of light in the neighborhood set their nerves on edge. But Finch was patient. He didn't need to act immediately. Observation alone was enough to destabilize them. The fear, the paranoia, the constant feeling of being watched, it was all part of his design. He had spent decades perfecting this. The psychological pressure was his weapon. And Cedar Glen, once idyllic and safe, had become his canvas. Late that night, Daniels monitored the neighborhood from his car. His radio crackled, and Officer Ruiz's voice came through. "Detective, I think he's here, near the Langston house. I see movement, attic window. Someone's there." Daniels felt a chill. Finch had returned, just as he always did. Across the street, Finch scribbled in a new notebook. The Langston family routines carefully noted, their vulnerabilities highlighted. The final notes of this page read, "They feel watched. Good. Fear sharpens them. Panic will teach them obedience. Observation is enough for now. The next phase begins." Daniels watched the window, heart pounding, knowing that the real terror was just beginning. The Langstons were safe, for now. But Finch was patient. And patience, combined with obsession, was deadly. The Langston house had become a fortress. Locks reinforced, windows sealed, cameras installed at every entrance. Detective Daniels had stationed officers around the block, but even that didn't relieve the tension. Every shadow seemed sinister. Every creak of a floorboard made Helen flinch. Every glance at the attic window sent a shiver down her spine. Finch wasn't in a hurry. That was his advantage. Patience was the weapon he wielded with precision. Inside his hiding place, which no one knew, he observed. He had spent hours studying the Langstons, noting weaknesses and creating scenarios. Unlike the McAllisters, Helen's family was cautious. They were aware, alert. But Finch had learned long ago that fear alone could break even the strongest defenses. The first step was isolation. Helen's phone began to malfunction. Calls to friends and family dropped inexplicably. Text messages went unread. Emails never sent. Internet connections flickered. Every attempt to contact the outside world seemed blocked. "Why won't my phone work?" Helen asked, frantic, pacing the living room. David examined the device. "I don't know, it's like something's interfering. Maybe a service outage." Daniels, monitoring remotely, frowned. "Not a coincidence. Finch is clever enough to manipulate communication lines. He wants you cut off, completely isolated." That night, a new level of paranoia settled in. Every creak, every gust of wind against the windows, every flicker of the streetlights felt amplified. Emma clutched her blanket tightly. "Mom, I see him. He's outside. I know it." Helen hugged her daughter. "There's nobody there, sweetheart. It's just shadows." But Emma shook her head. "No, he's always there. Watching. Waiting." David turned toward the window, heart racing. A shadow moved past the curtains of the opposite attic. For just a moment, it seemed to linger. Then it vanished. The psychological games had begun. Finch didn't need to enter the house to terrorize the Langstons. He only needed to make them feel watched, trapped, constantly on edge. In his notebooks, Finch wrote meticulously, "Fear is teaching. Isolation is shaping. Observe responses. Record weaknesses. Phase 2 approaching." Daniels met with his team late at night. He laid out what Finch was doing. He's not violent yet. Not physically. But he's breaking them down. Psychological manipulation. He's methodical. Every family he's targeted has reached a breaking point. The Langstons won't be an exception. Ruiz rubbed his face. "How do you stop someone who doesn't play by normal rules? Who doesn't even physically confront you?" Daniels shook his head. "You anticipate. You predict. You trap him with his own patterns." The next morning, Finch escalated. Helen found envelopes slipped under the front door. Each was addressed personally. Handwriting precise, almost artistic, yet unsettlingly familiar. Inside, small notes detailed her routines. Her children's school times. David's work schedule. Even grocery runs and errands were recorded. One note read simply, "You cannot hide. I know where you are. I know what you do. Stay alert. Watch your shadows." Helen trembled, clutching the paper. "David, he knows everything. His inside our lives." David tried to remain rational, but fear gnawed at him. "We need to stay calm. We can't let him see that we're scared." Emma whispered from the corner, "He's in my room sometimes. I hear him, breathing." Helen froze. "Emma, no." The realization hit like a sledgehammer. Finch didn't need to be seen to be effective. His presence alone, real or imagined, was enough to manipulate, intimidate, and break the family. Daniels, monitoring the neighborhood, noticed patterns in Finch's previous targets. In every case, the escalation followed the same sequence: observe, isolate, manipulate, terrorize, and finally, removal. He explained to his team, he's teaching them fear, step by step, and he knows exactly how far he can push them before they break. He's a predator unlike any we've dealt with. We need to find him before the next phase begins. That night, Finch observed the Langston home from a distance, a dark silhouette against the shadows of the trees. Notebook in hand, he recorded reactions. Helen pacing, David alert, children restless, fear increasing, communication disrupted, perfect isolation, phase 2 ready. He smirked. The Langstons were now vulnerable. Fear had taken root. Paranoia had begun to distort reality. Every sound, every shadow, every flicker of light was his tool. And the worst part, the family didn't know how much they had already fallen under his control. Meanwhile, Daniels devised a plan to confront Finch. He knew a direct confrontation might be dangerous. Finch had studied patterns, always stayed one step ahead. "We need to lure him," Daniels said. "Draw him out. Make him think he's winning, then we trap him. Otherwise, he'll keep moving, and no family will be safe." Officer Ruiz nodded grimly. "How do you trap someone who knows every pattern, every routine?" Daniel's eyes narrowed. "You become unpredictable. Break your own routines. Use the pattern against him." That night, the Langstons stayed on high alert. Every noise amplified. Every shadow a threat. The flickering light from the attic became unbearable. Finch moved closer, unseen, unknown. Recording. Observing. Calculating. Inside the house, Helen whispered to David, "We can't last like this forever. He's going to break us. I can feel it." David's jaw tightened. "We have to survive until they catch him. We have to survive each night." Emma peeked from behind the curtains, her eyes wide. "He's smiling at me," she whispered. "I saw him. He knows I'm afraid." Helen held her daughter tightly. "I know, baby. I know." And outside, Finch wrote in his notebook, smirking in the darkness. "Fear is growing. Obedience is shaping. Next phase begins. They are mine until the pattern is complete." Cedar Glen, once quiet and safe, had become a living experiment. And the Langstons were the next subjects. The Langstons' lives had become a waking nightmare. No longer was Finch merely observing from afar. His manipulations had begun to infiltrate the very rhythm of their daily existence. Sleep came in restless fragments, filled with the imagined sound of footsteps and faint scribbling from the attic. Every door slammed, every distant creak of a branch set hearts racing. Helen paced the kitchen late one night, coffee cooling in her hands. "David, we can't go on like this. His in our heads. I can't think straight." David's face was pale, dark circles under his eyes. "We have to endure until the police catch him. We can't let him win." Emma tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, he touched my window." Helen froze. Her hands shook. "Touched your what?" Emma pointed toward the window pane. "There are fingerprints. I saw them. His closer now. I can feel it." David walked to the window. The glass was cold beneath his fingers. Small smudges, delicate but deliberate, were etched into the surface. Not just random touches, something calculated. Daniels monitored the situation from his car parked across the street. He had stationed multiple units along the block, but Finch had adapted. Every time the police presence increased, he simply retreated, only to return elsewhere. Finch's movements were unpredictable yet deliberate. Daniels spoke into his radio, voice low. "He's testing them now. Isolation wasn't enough. He's moving to direct interference. That's how he escalates. We need eyes on every exit, every window, every neighbor. Nothing goes unnoticed." Back at Finch's vantage point, hidden in the shadows of the trees across the street, he watched the Langstons like a predator studying its prey. He carried a small notebook in which he recorded their every move, every reaction, every misstep. Helen pacing, heart rate elevated. David scanning the yard. Children restless. Phase 2, psychological intrusion in effect. Direct engagement unnecessary but planned. Observation alone insufficient. Finch's next move was subtle yet terrifying. Late one evening, David returned from work to find the mailbox ripped open. Inside were letters that weren't addressed to him but contained intimate knowledge. Helen's conversations with her co-workers, Emma's anxieties, even financial details he had never mentioned outside the house. "David, this isn't just observation. He's inside our lives," Helen whispered, trembling. The police had advised not to handle the materials. Daniels arrived immediately, collecting the letters and noting the meticulous handwriting, the precise attention to detail, and the unnerving insight into the family's private lives. "This is beyond stalking," Daniels said grimly. "This is psychological warfare, and is escalating. We're dealing with someone who doesn't just observe. He manipulates, intrudes, and controls." Phase 2 of Finch's plan wasn't just observation anymore. It was infiltration. Small things began happening inside the Langston house. Drawers were left slightly open. Objects moved slightly from where Helen had placed them. Food in the refrigerator rearranged. A single book left open on a desk with a note that read, "I know what you read. I know what you see. I am always here." The children noticed first. Emma refused to sleep alone. Her little brother, Lucas, refused to play in the living room. Even the family dog, Max, was unsettled, whining and pacing as though sensing an unseen presence. David tried to rationalize. "It's just someone messing with us, maybe a neighbor." Helen shook her head violently. "No, it's him. He's here. He's always here. He's watching. I know it." Daniels had begun plotting Finch's capture. He studied the previous disappearances, trying to predict Finch's next move. Each previous phase escalated systematically: observation, isolation, psychological intrusion, then removal. Daniels feared he was already too late. That night, Finch made his most daring move yet. From his hiding place, he entered the Langston yard. Not breaking in, not visibly intrusive, but enough to mark his presence. Footprints carefully placed, garden tools subtly rearranged, a single note pinned to the front door. Phase 2 complete. Fear is rising. Phase 3 begins when the night is darkest. You cannot hide from what watches. Helen screamed when she found it. David immediately called Daniels. Daniels drove over, flashlight in hand, and examined the yard. The footprints were deliberate, precise, calculated to instill terror, but not enough to be immediately actionable as a crime scene. "He's teaching them fear," Daniels muttered. "He's escalating. Every move is designed to destabilize, to isolate them further, to push them toward whatever his endgame is." As the night stretched on, Finch returned to the shadows, notebook in hand. He wrote detailed accounts of the Langstons' reactions. Helen panicked. David angry but cautious. Children terrified. Max anxious. Fear is deepening. Experiment progressing. Observational notes continue. Cedar Glen itself had transformed under Finch's influence. Streets once lively with neighbors waving hello were now quiet, almost deserted. People stayed inside, curtains drawn. Whispered rumors of the Watcher spread like wildfire. Daniels realized Finch's influence wasn't limited to direct targets. It was a contagion, spreading fear across the neighborhood. And Finch thrived in it. The next day, Daniels met with his team. "We need to draw him out," he said. "He won't act directly until he knows the family is destabilized. We use the pattern against him. He underestimates us when we become unpredictable." Ruiz frowned. "You mean, bait him?" Daniels nodded. "Exactly. But carefully. One misstep, and the family is lost. He's unpredictable, patient, and methodical. But even he has limits. We just have to find them." That night, the Langstons huddled together, the house filled with tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. Footsteps in the hallway. A shadow at the window. A notebook left conspicuously on the desk. "Mom, I can hear him breathing," whispered Emma. Helen clutched her daughter, tears streaming down her face. "I know, baby. I know." David stood at the window, jaw tight. "We endure. We survive. That's all we can do." And in the darkness, Finch wrote his notes. Phase 2 successful. Fear and paranoia intensified. Isolation complete. Observational data rich. Phase 3, removal, is imminent. Cedar Glen was no longer safe. The Langstons were his next subjects, and Finch's obsession with control and fear had only begun to escalate. The Langstons had reached the point of exhaustion. Days blurred into nights. Sleep became a fleeting memory, interrupted by shadows and creaking floors. Every sound, every flicker of light, every whisper outside the house gnawed at their nerves. Finch's games had escalated from observation to intrusion, and now it was about control. Detective Daniels and his team had been working around the clock. The problem wasn't just finding Finch, it was predicting him. Every previous family he had targeted had followed the same destructive pattern: fear, isolation, psychological breakdown, and finally, disappearance. The McAllisters had vanished without a trace. Daniels feared the same outcome for the Langstons. Finch's third phase had begun. From an undisclosed location, he watched the Langstons' every move. But he didn't just observe anymore. He manipulated. Small incidents escalated. Locks that were never engaged became jammed. Appliances failed just when Helen needed them most. The children's toys disappeared only to be found in strange places. Notes appeared on pillows, mirrors, and even inside lunchboxes. You cannot escape. Choices are yours, but only what I allow. Helen screamed when she found one taped to the inside of Emma's school bag. David read it aloud in disbelief. This is psychological torture. He wants us to react in a certain way. Daniels, reviewing surveillance and Finch's past tactics, realized the horrifying truth. Finch didn't just terrify his targets, he manipulated their decisions, forcing them into impossible choices. Families broken by fear, pushed to extremes, until they made a single mistake. That mistake allowed Finch to strike. That night, Finch approached his ultimate test. He slipped into the Langstons' yard, not to enter, but to signal, to taunt, to push. A single light in the attic window flickered on, casting elongated shadows across the living room. Outside, a string of notes spelled a chilling sequence. Tonight you must choose. One path leads to safety. One path leads to mine. Helen's hands shook as she clutched the final note. David, what does this mean? David ran his fingers through his hair. It's a game. He's trying to force us to act. He wants to see how we respond. Emma cried, I don't want to play. Daniels, monitoring remotely, felt a surge of dread. Finch was no longer content to simply observe or frighten. He was orchestrating decisions, controlling outcomes, dictating fear and action. The Langstons huddled together, discussing their choices. Every suggestion carried consequences. Should we leave the house? Helen asked, panic in her eyes. David shook his head. No. If we go outside, he'll know. He's prepared for that. He's testing us. He wants us to fail. Maybe we should split up, Emma whispered. Helen's head snapped toward her. No. Never. You're not alone. Not ever. Finch observed from a distance, taking careful notes. Every hesitation, every fear-filled glance, every whispered word was catalogued. He delighted in the struggle, in the torment, in the absolute control he held over their reality. Meanwhile, Daniels and his team worked furiously to identify Finch's next move. They analyzed patterns, looked for his weak points, predicted his manipulations, but Finch's brilliance was maddening. He never repeated mistakes, never exposed himself unnecessarily. Daniels realized they had only one advantage, unpredictability. Finch relied on patterns. Break the pattern, force him to reveal himself. Inside the Langston house, tension reached a breaking point. Small escalations became terrifying events. Lights flickered violently. Objects moved in impossible ways. A shattered vase lay on the floor, with a note tucked beneath it. Careful, every step matters. One wrong choice and it is the end. David clenched his fists. He's trying to push us to act irrationally. Helen's hands trembled. I don't know how much longer we can last. Every night, it's worse. Every shadow, it's him. Always him. Finch, hidden in the darkness outside, scribbled again in his notebook. Fear is mastery. Observation complete. Manipulation effective. Next phase, action, is imminent. The family debated again. Every choice seemed fatal. Should they leave the house? Finch had made it clear the outcome would be catastrophic. Should they stay? Finch's manipulations could escalate further, pushing them to exhaustion, panic, and despair. Should they call for help? Communications were compromised. They couldn't be sure Finch wasn't monitoring every call. The night seemed endless. The shadows shifted. The air was thick with terror. And then it happened. A faint scratching at the window. A subtle movement. The door to the basement creaked open. Nothing visible, but the family knew it. He was inside the house now. Not physically perhaps, but psychologically, emotionally, controlling the environment. Helen whispered, "He's here. He's inside, even if he's not in the room, he's here." David's face hardened. Then we endure. We survive. One step at a time. No panic. We are stronger than fear. Daniels watched the feed, heart pounding. Finch's escalation to Phase 3 was precise, relentless, and terrifying. The manipulations forced the family to make impossible choices, every decision potentially fatal. And Finch reveled in it. From the shadows, Finch's notebook recorded each reaction. Helen panicking. David trying to rationalize. Children distressed. Fear deepening. Decisions constrained. Action imminent. The pattern continues. The family's endurance was being tested, pushed to the brink of human capability. Every breath, every glance, every heartbeat was monitored, catalogued, and analyzed. And as the night wore on, Daniels realized the terrifying reality. Finch wasn't just a watcher anymore. He was a puppeteer. Every choice the family made, every panic-fueled reaction, every attempt at resistance, it was all part of his experiment. Cedar Glen had become his laboratory. The Langstons were his subjects. And Finch's obsession with fear, control, and observation was only beginning to reach its terrifying climax. The Langstons had been awake for hours, no, days. Sleep had become a memory, one they clung to only in whispered recollections of before Finch had taken control of their lives. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of light, every distant shadow became amplified. Fear had calcified into obsession. Detective Daniels had been coordinating officers in shifts around the neighborhood, but Finch had adapted to every precaution. Cameras had been disabled in subtle ways, motion sensors misdirected. Even the police presence seemed to feed Finch's game rather than deter him. Daniels knew the next step had to be calculated, precise, and daring. Finch was watching from a distance, hidden in the perimeter of Cedar Glen. He had remained unseen, the ultimate predator, studying his subjects as he manipulated the environment. But tonight, he would escalate. Phase 4, Control Through Chaos, was ready to begin. Small disturbances began almost immediately. The front door, locked twice, was now slightly ajar as a note appeared on the kitchen counter. Choices matter. Every step, every breath, observed. Lights in the house flickered in deliberate patterns, synchronized to create uncertainty and panic. Emma's favorite doll, placed carefully on her bed earlier, now sat across the room with a new note. You cannot protect what you love. Helen clutched the doll in her hands, tears streaming. David, his inside everything now. His controlling our house. David's face was pale, jaw tight. We endure. We survive. That's all we can do. Daniels had spent the past hours analyzing Finch's past behaviors, trying to anticipate his next move. The McAllisters' disappearance and the notes left behind had revealed a terrifying pattern. Finch escalated in stages, each more invasive than the last, until the family was psychologically broken. Only then did he act decisively. Daniels knew they had to trap Finch, but he had to make it seem like the Langstons were isolated, vulnerable, and unaware. Any hint of police presence might send Finch fleeing. A plan was devised. Reinforce the Langston house covertly with hidden cameras and microphones, use unmarked police units to monitor all surrounding streets, simulate vulnerability, turn off some systems, allow certain disturbances to occur, wait for Finch to act, forcing him to reveal himself. That evening, Finch began his manipulations in earnest. From his vantage point, he orchestrated small events. A single window left open in the rear of the house, a carefully placed note slipped under the living room rug. You cannot hide. The watcher knows all. Subtle sounds, footsteps, taps, whispers, emanating from the attic and hallways. Helen's hands trembled as she read the notes, her voice barely audible. David, his everywhere. I can feel it. Even in the walls, even in the shadows. David took her hand firmly. We endure. We survive. One breath at a time. No panic. Emma and Lucas clung to their mother, whispering that they could hear the watcher's footsteps in the hallway. The family huddled together, trying to convince themselves it was imagination. But deep down, they knew better. Daniels monitored every movement remotely, watching Finch's predictable escalation. He's pushing them, Daniels whispered. He wants them to act rashly. That's when he makes a mistake, reveals himself. Finch escalated further. He manipulated the electricity, creating sudden blackouts throughout the house. Each blackout lasted seconds, but in those moments, fear became tangible. Emma screamed every time the room went dark. Helen clutched her daughter tightly, whispering words of reassurance that she barely believed herself. David, meanwhile, tried to maintain order. He lit candles, reinforced doors, and monitored the windows. But Finch's intrusion was subtle, precise, and unrelenting. Every movement was catalogued, every reaction observed. From his notebook, Finch scribbled, fear rising, obedience shaping, reaction predictable. Phase 4, psychological dominance, ready to escalate to physical confrontation if necessary. The pattern is complete. Daniels coordinated with his team, knowing that they had only a short window to act. Finch's meticulous nature made him cautious, but every step he took brought him closer to revealing himself. Daniels hoped their trap was precise enough to finally capture the watcher. Inside the Langston house, the family faced their ultimate test. Finch had orchestrated a scenario designed to force their hands. The basement light flickered, casting eerie shadows across the walls. The front door was discovered unlocked, tempting the family to flee. A new note appeared on the kitchen counter. Decide. One action ensures safety. One action ensures chaos. Your choice reveals your fate. Helen's hands shook violently. David, what do we do? If we open the door, we don't know what happens. David clenched his fists. We don't act rashly. We follow Daniel's instructions. We endure. We survive. Nothing else matters. Emma whispered, his smiling at me from outside. Helen's blood ran cold. No, baby, don't see him like that. Finch, hidden in the darkness, observed every heartbeat, every tremor, every hesitation. His notebook recorded meticulous details. Helen panicking slightly. David rationalizing. Children distressed. Fear escalating. Phase 4 complete. Immediate observation required. Daniels prepared his team for a final move. They had positioned officers around the property and surrounding streets. Hidden cameras and microphones captured every sound, every movement. The strategy was simple: make Finch act, force him to reveal himself. But simplicity was deceptive. Finch's genius lay in anticipating every possible scenario. And then it happened. A shadow moved across the front yard, too deliberate, too precise to be random. The flicker of light from the attic window revealed a figure crouched, poised, observing the family. Now, Daniels whispered into his radio. Officers converged silently. Hidden cameras recorded Finch's movements. Every action calculated. Every step deliberate. The Langstons, huddled together, were unaware of the trap about to close around him. Finch, sensing a shift in the environment, hesitated for the first time. The pattern, his own pattern, was disrupted. His instincts screamed caution. But obsession, curiosity, and arrogance pushed him forward. Daniel's voice cut through the night over a loudspeaker. Harold Finch, step away from the house. You are under arrest. The figure froze. A moment of silence. And then, with startling speed, Finch retreated toward the shadows, vanishing as quickly as he had appeared. Daniels cursed under his breath. Finch had escaped, again. But this time, they had more video evidence, patterns, and detailed observations of his tactics. Inside, Helen clutched Emma and Lucas. David exhaled, relief mixed with fear. We survived tonight, he said quietly. But he's still out there. Finch, crouched in the darkness, flipped through his notebook. A faint smile appeared. The experiment continues. They survived, this night. But the pattern endures. Observation eternal. Phase 5 awaits. Cedar Glen had survived another night. But Finch's influence, his terror, and his obsession had only deepened. The watcher remained unseen, unpredictable, and terrifyingly methodical. Cedar Glen was no longer the quiet, suburban neighborhood it once was. The air was heavy with fear, and the streets were filled with cautious, watchful residents, curtains drawn, eyes flicking nervously at the shadows. Finch had transformed the town into his psychological laboratory, and the Langstons were at the center of it. Detective Daniels knew time was running out. Finch had escalated through phases 1 to 4 with ruthless precision. Phase 5, the final escalation, was imminent. He gathered his team in a quiet room near the Langston house. He's meticulous. He studies patterns, routines, and behaviors, Daniels said, pointing at a digital map of the neighborhood. He knows our positions. He knows our limitations. But he has a flaw: arrogance. He underestimates unpredictability. Officer Ruiz frowned. You really think we can catch him tonight? After everything he's done? Daniels nodded grimly. We have to. If we fail, the Langstons, and any family on this street, won't survive. Finch isn't just dangerous. He's obsessive, intelligent, and patient. But he can't anticipate chaos he hasn't planned for. Back at the Langston house, fear had become a living, breathing entity. The children refused to sleep. Helen and David had taken shifts keeping watch. Every shadow, every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of light made hearts pound. The attic window, a portal to terror, remained ominously dark. Finch, crouched in the shadows across the street, studied them with cold precision. Phase 5 had begun. The manipulation escalated. Candles flickered violently in sync with sounds of movement outside. The dog backed incessantly at shadows that weren't there. Notes appeared in the most personal places. Inside pillows, lunchboxes, even under the children's beds. Each message carried the same chilling undertone. I see you. I know your every thought. The final phase is near. Helen clutched a note, hands trembling. David, his controlling everything. His everywhere. David's jaw tightened. We endure. We survive. That's all we can do. Daniels had devised a risky strategy. Using surveillance, decoys, and hidden units, they intended to force Finch into the open. The plan was simple but dangerous. Simulate a vulnerability in the Langston house, enough to lure Finch into direct action, but maintain enough control to trap him once he revealed himself. Daniels knew that Finch's brilliance lay in patience, observation, and manipulation. But even the most meticulous predator could be drawn into the wrong place at the wrong time. That night, Finch took the bait. From his shadowed vantage point, he saw the simulated vulnerability, a faint glow in the living room, objects left slightly askew, a door left unlocked. Every detail designed to lure him. He approached slowly, calculating, confident. He had observed patterns, predicted reactions, and now, he believed, he could manipulate the family to the brink one final time. Inside the house, Helen whispered to David, "He's here. I can feel it. He's watching, waiting." David nodded. "We endure. Stay calm. Follow the plan." Finch entered the yard, silent and deliberate. His shadow stretched across the lawn like a dark omen. He moved with purpose, unaware that hidden cameras and officers surrounded him, every movement recorded, every step anticipated. He slipped inside the living room, carefully avoiding the obvious surveillance points, and left a single note on the coffee table. "Do you feel the fear yet? This is only the beginning." Daniels, watching remotely, gave the signal. Officers closed in quietly. But Finch wasn't finished. He had one final act of psychological terror planned. He approached Helen and the children, whispering from the shadows, "You cannot escape. Every door, every window, every breath, mine. Choices are meaningless. Fear is eternal." Helen screamed, clutching her children tightly. David lunged toward Finch, but the figure vanished in the shadows, moving faster than the eye could follow. It was the first real confrontation. Daniels realized Finch's ability to manipulate space, light, and perception gave him near supernatural agility. The officers rushed in, and chaos erupted in the Langston yard. Finch fought with calculated precision. He wasn't reckless. Every movement was designed to test, intimidate, and escape. The officers hesitated, aware that one misstep could endanger the family. Daniels shouted over the commotion, "Focus. Don't let him slip away." Finch, sensing the trap, adapted instantly. He vaulted over the fence, disappearing into the darkness. But in his haste, a single notebook fell from his jacket. Daniel's team recovered it immediately. Inside, Finch's meticulous records were revealed. Every detail of the Langstons' routines, notes on psychological reactions to each disturbance, escalation plans for Phase 5. Maps of escape routes, observation points, and potential contingencies. Daniels exhaled, holding the notebook. "This is it. This is how we catch him." Back in the Langston house, Helen, David, and the children huddled together, exhausted, trembling, yet alive. Emma whispered, "Is it over?" Helen hugged her tightly. "For now, maybe. But we survived. That's what matters." Daniels, reviewing the notebook, realized Finch's obsession was now his undoing. His meticulous records provided the blueprint for his capture. Finch, meanwhile, had retreated into the shadows, smirking. The pattern had been broken, his observation compromised, but the game was not yet over. Cedar Glen had survived another night. The Langstons were scarred, but alive. And Finch's obsession with control, fear, and observation was nearing its climax. The night hung over Cedar Glen like a living shadow. Silence was shattered only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hum of street lights. The Langston house, once a place of comfort, had become a fortress built on fear and survival. For weeks, Finch had orchestrated a symphony of terror, escalating from distant observation to manipulation, to psychological games, and now to near-direct confrontation. Detective Daniels knew that tonight would determine the outcome. Finch had made mistakes, but only small ones, almost imperceptible. Those small errors were all Daniels needed to finally trap him. "All units in position," Daniels whispered over the radio. "Remember, observation first, engagement only if necessary. Do not underestimate him. He's clever, patient, and dangerous." Inside the Langston house, Helen sat in the living room, clutching Emma and Lucas tightly. David sat nearby, scanning the darkened windows for any sign of movement. The family had become hyper-aware of every sound, every shadow. Even the creak of floorboards, once mundane, now felt like a prelude to disaster. A faint tapping at the front window drew Helen's attention. Her breath caught. The window pane trembled as if responding to an unseen hand. David placed a protective arm around her. "It's okay. Stay calm. Follow the plan." Finch observed from across the street, crouched in darkness, his notebook in hand. He had studied every reaction, every routine, every hesitation. His obsession with control was unyielding. Tonight, he intended to push the Langstons past their breaking point. The tapping escalated into a slow, deliberate knock. Each strike synchronized with the family's heartbeat, designed to instill terror. Finch's words, unspoken but felt in the air, seemed to echo. "I see you. I know you. There is no escape." Daniels gave the signal. Hidden units moved silently into position around the perimeter. Cameras captured every angle. Finch's pattern was predictable, but only if he revealed himself. Finch stepped closer, confident. His patience, his arrogance, his obsession with control guided his movements. He would not act recklessly, but tonight, the temptation to see the family's final reactions was too strong. Inside, Helen whispered, "David, I can feel him. He's closer than ever." David nodded, voice steady. "Then we endure. We survive. Stay together. Do not panic." The front door handle rattled, then twisted slowly. Finch was testing their response. Heartbeats quickened. The children whimpered. Shadows flickered against the walls. Daniel's voice crackled in their earpiece. "Hold. Do not engage. Wait for him to commit a step." Finch entered the threshold of the house. His presence was felt before seen, a silent predator moving with calculated precision. He left a note on the coffee table. "Choices define you. Fear strengthens me. Let us see how you respond." Helen's hands shook as she read the note aloud. David scanned the room, tense but focused. "We endure. That's all we can do." Finch crouched near the window, observing, savoring the fear. But then, a sudden shift. He noticed the hidden cameras, the surveillance units, the officers blending into the shadows. For the first time, the pattern he had meticulously crafted was disrupted. Daniels whispered into the radio, voice taut. "Now, engage carefully. He cannot escape this time." Finch's eyes darted. His movements became quicker, more precise, but the trap was closing. Officers began to converge silently. Every exit was covered, every angle monitored. In a blur of motion, Finch attempted to flee, but Daniels anticipated his path. Finch miscalculated, just slightly, and tripped, falling into the hidden net of tactical units waiting to restrain him. The struggle was brief but intense. Finch fought with strength born of obsession, every movement deliberate. But he had underestimated the combination of preparation, timing, and the family's survival instinct. Daniels stepped forward, handcuffs ready. "Harold Finch, you under arrest." Finch's face was a mask of fury and disbelief. "You think this ends here? You cannot contain what I have created. Fear is eternal." Daniels remained calm. "Not tonight. Tonight, it ends." The officers subdued Finch. Every notebook, every device, every carefully catalogued record of the Langstons' lives was confiscated. Daniels examined them quickly, detailed accounts of every psychological manipulation, every intrusion, every step of the plan meticulously recorded. Finch's brilliance was undeniable, but so was his downfall. Inside the Langston house, Helen, David, and the children clung to each other, tears streaming, hearts still pounding. The terror that had consumed them for weeks was finally interrupted. Emma whispered, "He's gone." Helen nodded, holding her children tightly. "He's gone. For now, it's over." David exhaled, relief washing over him. "We survived. That's all that matters." Outside, Finch was escorted into a waiting vehicle. Even restrained, his gaze remained sharp, calculating, as though the game were not over, only postponed. Daniels watched him, notebook in hand. Obsessive, meticulous, dangerous, but finally contained. The neighborhood slowly returned to life. Windows reopened. Children played outside. The heavy silence lifted, replaced by cautious optimism. Cedar Glen had survived. But in the shadows, the memory of Finch lingered. The fear he instilled, the psychological scars, the knowledge that someone could watch so meticulously, that would remain. The Langstons, and the town, would never be entirely the same. Helen whispered to David that night, holding Emma and Lucas close. "We endured, and we survived. But I'll never forget him." David nodded. "Nor will I. But we are still here. That's what matters." And as Finch sat in the back of the police vehicle, his mind raced with obsession, patterns, and plans yet unfinished. Though captured, his influence had already left an indelible mark, a town forever changed, a family forever altered, and a reminder that some predators' minds cannot be contained, even if their bodies are.